You're asked. All right, Jason. Good afternoon and welcome to the Planning and Heritage Committee agenda meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Is there any declaration of conflict of interest? Seeing none, I'd like to welcome Deputy Mayor Elana Yankoff, who's joining us from down under in Australia today on the phone. So I'm going to take her seat as the chair to help facilitate this meeting. So I need someone, before we approve our agenda, I need to move A, the update on commitments made by the province as part of the major variance application regarding 15 Park Street to C, and we'll just go B, C, and then put A at the back because the manager, David, is going to be a few minutes late. So can I have someone approve our agenda with that? Moved by His Worship, seconded by Councillor Beck. All in favor?
I can second that. Okay.
Okay, and Councillor, Deputy Mayor's in favor as well. Okay, so is there any business arising from our minutes?
No, I always forget about introduction of new business under the
That's at
agenda.
number 7, yeah. That's at the end. We'll get
Yeah, I
there.
just wanted to just give a notice, so I'll give it when.
When we get there, you can introduce your
Thank
new
you very
business. Okay. All right, so there's no business, seeing no business arising from the previous minutes. We're going to move right into reports, and we're going to start with B, consideration to adjust the STR application fee and commercial general liability insurance and coverage. And I think that's you, Donna? Or, I'm sorry, Deacon? Okay.
Chair, I'll have to excuse myself, I'm in conflict.
Oh, okay, sorry. Thank you.
And Madam Chair, so Councillor Beck is removing himself because he's in conflict of interest on the STR issue, correct? Just for the record?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay, Deacon, if you want to present?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So background on my report is the Planning and Heritage Department of City has received a request to reduce STR application fees and coverage limits for commercial general liability insurance. This report examines the existing fee structure and insurance requirements and compares them with the similar regulations in other municipalities. As per the short-term rental licensing bylaw, Section 10, every STR applicant must provide proof of commercial general liability insurance with a minimum coverage of $2 million per STR unit. This requirement aims to ensure safety for both property and occupants, referencing past incidents like the tragic fire in Old Montreal in March 2023. Appendix A outlines the comparable insurance coverage requirements in other cities around Canada. Rationale behind the insurance is to protect both STR operators and occupants against claim for personal injury and property damage. The $2 million coverage aligns with the industry standards and prioritized safety concerns. Application fee determination. The STR application fee was established considering the significant staff time required for pre-screening, review, permit procurement, and registration stickers. Appendix A demonstrates that cities across Canada charge application fees ranging from $150 to $4,000 annually, with Charlottetown's fees falling within the same range. Comparison with other operators' fees. So STR operators in City of Charlottetown charges between $120 to $700 per night, with an average of $290 per night, as depicted in Appendix B. The city's STR application fees are equitable compared to the other cities' licensing fees, and these fees charged by the operators. So considering safety implications and industry standards, staff recommended maintaining the current application fees and insurance coverage requirements. Furthermore, staff advise allowing time for the bylaws implementation and suggest conducting future assessments based on lessons learned from at least 1 year into implementation. Thank you.
Thank you, Deacon. Just for the record, can you clarify what it is? What is the fee?
$175.
$175 a year, okay. So, Your Worship, do you have?
So, Madam Chair, the fee is to register, right? I think this issue is about the liability insurance, correct?
Both.
Yeah, but our responsibility as a council is to make changes to the bylaw. We made the changes. This is operational. So if this is here for information, thank you, but I don't think we need a decision from this body to say, yeah, you can charge 175, you can charge 2 million. That's something that is operational. That's my understanding. And when I saw this on the agenda, Donna, I said, and I've had calls about it, right? And they've called me, so I said, no, you call the department and ask for their explanation. So I think you gave them an explanation. I think this is the same one you gave whoever called you, correct?
Through you, Madam Chair, to your worship. So this request came through a counselor, and he wanted us to bring it here for discussion and consideration by council. Hence, although we've given the person who asked for the information, the same information that's presented here today, we thought it would be prudent that we brought it through here so that at least the discussion can be had and a decision made or further direction given to staff that we should continue to operationalize the STR licensing bylaw. Hence, it's here today.
So, Madam Chair, just a supplementary question. So these fees, were they part of your budget?
They are.
Yeah, so we already approved them under the budget.
They were approved from last year through the STR licensing bylaw. I think what's happening now is this particular resident is having an issue with paying the amount and also with finding persons to provide her with insurance for her to get the license. So I think that's where the issue stems from, based on the conversations that we've had.
But all I'm trying to clarify, Donna, is that we've already voted on the fees. That's done. That was part of the budgetary process. As for the legalities around how many, that's inspection services, right? How many are in that building? Do they have a license? That's not up to council to go out and look into homes and find out if they're abiding by the laws or the bylaw. That's the responsibility of the department. So if you're telling me it's $2 million elsewhere, plus you have to add $1 million because Airbnb has $1 million too, right? So instead of $2 million, it's $3 million. So, and when I see NA from City of Kelowna, that means not available,
No, yes.
but they must have insurance.
They must have it, but the amount was not present when we did the research.
Well, if this is
Oh.
here for information, I'm just taking it as information, but I don't think we have any decision to be made here, correct?
If we wanted to go back and rechange our bylaw, if we thought that we should be changing our bylaw, that was what we could do as a committee, is discuss that, I think.
I don't think the bylaw included the insurance coverage.
Through you, Madam Chair, to your worship, yes. Section 10.1 of the STR licensing bylaw does outline that commercial liability insurance is required to get a STR license.
And the amounts given?
2 million, yeah.
And that license bylaw STR was passed?
It was passed in November
Yeah.
of last year.
So the
And-
question is, are we wanting to go back and revamp that at this time? And I'm thinking as a committee and Deputy Mayor, I'm going to give you an opportunity to chime in here. Do you have anything or any thoughts that you'd like to share at this time? Are you interested in going back to reopen that? Or are you comfortable, considering we just passed this bylaw, to keep it as is?
I 100% agree with His Worship. These are operational questions that have come into the department, and like you say, we just barely passed this bylaw. So I'm in agreement with the rest of the committee to, leave it the way it is. It's 100% operational at this point.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And our CAO wants to speak. Just one moment. Yes?
Thank you, Chair. I'm here because the microphone's here. Just for an additional piece of information, this came to Planning and Heritage Department, but it was initially addressed to all of council. So the process was, it was a letter to council requesting that insurance be reduced and that the fees be reduced. So then that request was sent through to Planning and Heritage to provide the background and to provide a recommendation to council of what to do in this scenario. And in this case, they're saying, don't change what you have, it's fine. So that's why that recommendation is landing the way it is.
Yep, and I think as a committee, basically what we would do is, as this goes on to council, to say it was discussed and we're not in agreeing of going back to revisit our bylaw at this time. So are you okay with that, your worship? Just,
Well, and again, this is where we get caught in the weeds of, like, I know an email was sent to all of us, but every time that happens, does that mean it comes back to this floor? See, we get into this slippery slope here, guys. And again, the bylaw on last year was voted on. We voted on it. It was moved, that was it. So when you get inquiries coming through the department or an email coming to all of council, then where is that divide, that I call it the Berlin Wall, between operational and the political arena? So again, and I know the deputy and I share on this view that we just have to clarify those lines. If someone sends, like, we get lots of emails to all of us, and I don't think we address all of them because we'd be busy here dealing with the weeds, getting into the weeds of the operations. We've been told over and over again, operations is here, and we're on the other side of the Berlin Wall, and we're in this political arena that we call chamber or elected officials. So I'll pass it up to council, but I think some councillors will be saying the same thing. Why are we getting into this? Because we've already made the decision, and the decision was made last November, and it took us 3 years, Madam Chair, to get to this. Well, 4 years. I'm still waiting for the summary offense conviction framework on what people or what offenders can be charged for breaking the bylaw. That I've been asking for 4 or 5 years too. That's what I want to see come back here, those issues. And again,
perhaps we could look at maybe, having something set where we go back and revisit older bylaws on a continuum anyway, so that this is a new bylaw. It probably doesn't have to be looked at again at this time, but maybe in 5 years, or, set something up that way where the bylaws that we do support and create come back so that we can look to see, are they still up to par and do we need to revamp them? But this one was just passed. Do you feel the same, Deputy Mayor?
I do feel the same way, yes.
So I think basically what we're saying is we support staff recommendation not to make changes to the existing fees and bylaws based on, that's what our committee would say. We're not looking to go back.
I'm moving it up to council.
Correct.
That's what I'm doing, and just saying, here's the recommendation, because, again, speaking to a couple of individuals about the insurance issue, I've spoken to other short-term rental owners and operators. There are insurers out there that will prorate your insurance for the number of months that you're renting out. You don't pay for the full year. Some are, that's why you shop around for your insurance provider. And I recommended this to this person who called to say, there are other insurers out there that will prorate your insurance because of how many months you're using it.
But that's a them issue. That's not an us
But that's the
issue.
advice I gave.
Yeah.
But I don't think that advice should be discussed on the floor of the chamber. I'm just bringing this up in committee as point of information that I passed on.
I think it was, are we good with the $175 fee that we are charging for the short-term rental operation application? That's what I read.
And the 2 million.
Well, and the two, and
And the
for
$2
saying that they need to carry a $2 million liability. And that's what we agreed upon when we did this. Okay. Okay. Deputy Mayor, you're comfortable moving that on to council for the same, more information sharing?
I am. I'm just a bit perplexed at as his worship said, at what point, and at what point does an inquiry from a resident with valid concerns for their own reasons. Where's the litmus paper test to say, okay, this is when it comes to committee? Because as His Worship said, I mean, we get inquiries and questions all the time, but they don't often come into discussion at a committee level. So I'm just perplexed that we've gotten this far with this inquiry, because this really opens Pandora's box for all other inquiries.
It sounds like what you're saying is, yeah, unless it's something that staff feel we need to relook at the whole bylaw. Or Donna, did you want to answer that?
Yes, Madam Chair. So if we are to increase any fees within the city, that would apply to any bylaw that we regulate, then we would need to come to committee and subsequently council to get approval to increase that fee or to decrease it. And this is the request that came through to council from the resident. They wanted to decrease the amount of money that's charged for the SGR license per year. So although we know that this bylaw has been in place since November of last year, and there wouldn't be any consideration from our part to change it now operationally, we thought that the resident had a fair request, and we thought that we should bring it to council to say this is what is out there, and we're recommending that it remains, so.
So it's information too, just to making sure that we're all clear.
So, Madam Chair, Donna, this is no disrespect to the department. Don't take it that way. What it is that we've been told over and over again, stay out of the operations, let the bureaucracy take care of that, and you guys take care of phone calls, knocking on doors, kissing babies, and so forth. That's what we do. But this is, when we go through fees, these fees come through your budget or any budget that requires the fee to be at this rate for this year, or you put it up next year. That's what we pass in the budgetary process. When it comes to the insurance, that's a part, we don't vote on that. We're voting on the fees, because that means revenue for the department to offset your expenses. That's my understanding. Anytime that the department was looking for, new sources of revenue, they looked at raising their fees, that would have to come through council. And we voted on this budget last Thursday, which would have covered your fees. That's a political decision, but to get into the insurance and to get into other parts and pieces of the operations, I think, again, it's a slippery slope, and it may not just stop here. It could happen in other departments, which it has happened with some of the other issues we're dealing with, because the outcry from the community is that, how dare you do this to us? Well, a decision was made by council, and now it's up to the bureaucracy to enforce it. That's my view. And again, it's not disrespect to yourself or any of the departmental staff or anyone in city government. I'm just trying to find that definition of operational vis-a-vis the political workings of city government.
Well, we'll move this on and we'll go from there. So thank you, and maybe that could be part of our next onboarding session to CAO. So the second item on the committee agenda, we'll get Councillor Beck back in, is to look at approving the terms of reference for the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. And I think this is you again, Donna?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the purpose of this report is to provide the draft of the terms of reference for the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee that was created through the city or the council to provide information and feedback and guidance to city on the changing housing trends, supply and demographics, and subsequent affordable housing needs. And this draft terms of reference was shared with the committee members, and they are okay with the terms that are outlined in it. It sets out that their mandate is to provide feedback and input to the city council through the Planning and Heritage Committee about affordable housing in Charlottetown. It also states that their vision is to envision a future where all Charlottetown residents have access to affordable housing. It outlines the objective of the committee, their roles and responsibilities, the committee composition and their key responsibilities, their remuneration that will be given to each member of the committee, their meeting dates, their deliverables, the resources that will be provided by the city, as well as guidelines and duration of the committee, which is slated to run for 2 years, and this is subject to review and extension by the city council. So it's here today in your package for perusal, and we recommend that it be passed on to council and that it be approved as is outlined.
Thank you, Donna. Deputy Mayor, did you want to speak to this before I open it to the floor here? No, Deputy, I'm just leading.
Sure. So we spent quite a bit of time at committee on this. So as you can imagine, it's been in the works for a while. So I think we have a pretty strong and good document here to work with, and I think it's a good direction for the committee. So I would be supporting this terms of reference.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I think we need these for all of the advisory committees, but Your Worship? Did you have something?
Terms of reference?
Yeah, like the solid terms of
I think
reference.
we do have them all.
Oh, we need
Is
to
there one
get
for
it.
civic
I haven't
persons
seen
with
it yet.
disabilities? There should be. No, I want to thank Donna for the hard work that she put into it. Donna, job well done. It was, it's a very strong committee, and I think it's got a lot of potential. I do want to pass on to you that another link that we can pass on to them, like we did with the Housing Housing Accelerator Fund and the initiatives, is the housingandclimate.ca, which was the task force that former Mayor of Edmonton, David, Don Iverson, and former MP from Ontario co-chaired it. So this is something we should pass on, because it does talk about housing, affordable housing, social housing, public housing, subsidized housing, and so forth. So yeah, so thanks to Donna for the great work on this file.
Thank you. Councillor Beck?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just wondering, housing is, I guess, by and large, a provincial matter, right? Correct? What? And federal, yeah. So, so this council advises, or this committee advises council, and then how does it work from there? Like, how does our role as a municipal body interact with provincial federal domain and bringing and just pardon my, maybe my lack of knowledge on this, but how does this all connect? I guess is what I'm wondering.
I think this committee would advise our committee. It falls to our committee, not necessarily, and then that goes on to all of council for information, but they're supposed to directly work with this planning committee, from what I understand. But Donna, I'm just going to let you clarify.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. So this committee was established through the city's affordable housing incentive program, that was passed in 2018, and that called for an establishment of this particular committee to provide guidance to council through the Planning and Heritage Committee. So that's how they would interact with council, through the Planning and Heritage Committee and then up to council.
Okay. All right, thanks.
If I could.
And I think that sometimes they can take, we could listen to any recommendations or information and roll with that if there was something that we felt maybe would be something in our scope to be able to roll out different things. Wouldn't it be part of that?
Yep. And if you look at the advisory committee, it's only providing advice. And Donna, it was picked up from that policy that was adopted by council in 2018, which stated very specifically to create a affordable housing advisory committee. So that's where it came from. And as for housing, I think we've discovered, and with 10.1 million, we're all responsible for housing. Now, what's our responsibilities? Are we going to get into building affordable housing? That's not our role, because we do not, and I keep saying this, Councillor Beck, we don't have the fiscal firepower that the feds and the provinces had. You know, you look at personal income tax, corporate income tax, consumption tax, excise tax. We have
Not looking to assume it.
one tax, that's property tax. But where we can help is this tax incentive, the affordable housing tax and incentive, and the bylaws that we've changed to allow for more affordable housing and to give bonuses, whether it's less parking, higher buildings. So those were made as accommodations to provide and build more non-market housing. And I think it's working, and I think with half, Donna knows firsthand that extra additional money is making things happen. I believe the feds, Trudeau, the Prime Minister, announced more programming. He's up in the half by another close to $500 million. He's adding another, I think, $60 million or 600 to more infrastructure for housing. So, you know, it's time for us to get on board, to be part of the solution, rather than just saying, and I was always of that view, this is a provincial federal issue. No, we're all responsible for it. But what are our responsibilities? Differ at different levels. And Lisa Raitt is the other co-chair of that Housing and Climate Task Force with Don Iverson.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor is chair again. I just want to make sure you're having the opportunity. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. So I think basically, again, this.
Just, Madam Chair, just one thing, going back to what has there been things, and I agree with you, Your Worship, that it's not, we are in the game, but if you think kind of when you look at it hierarchically or whatever, it's kind of, that is the predominant, but we're in there now. What are some things that maybe have come out from this committee that have been tangible? You were saying, like, there might be some things that we've hooked on to, or there might be some things that come out of the committee. Has there been some stuff that has come out of this committee that has
In
been
my 6 years,
identifiable?
no, but.
Since 2018?
Yeah, since I've become part of planning, I haven't really had anything tangible.
Okay.
But I think that now that maybe they have a clear, again, these terms of reference, maybe giving them a clearer sense of direction of what their role would be, there could be some things that we could work collaboratively with to hear, learn from, or,
Okay.
get a sober second thought. That
Yep.
would probably be what the purpose of the advisory board would be. But I don't think we've ever really taken anything, and that's what I've been saying all along. It's great to have advisory boards, but what's their role and purpose? And how does that help us so that we can be more collaborative? So,
Chair, they are a rally call. They have been a rally call for more public housing, more social housing, more subsidized housing, more co-op housing. And I know we have these relationships where we have private industry getting into the affordable housing, but they're 10-year contracts. At the 10 years, it's either signed on for another 10, or it's dropped and it goes back to market housing. I keep saying, and we've just sent a letter to the minister responsible for communities and housing and lands, Minister Lance, is the province needs to be more into building, operating, maintaining, financing public housing, social housing, subsidized housing, co-op housing. I'll keep going on.
Every
Thank you.
housing. And the nice thing, Counselor Beck, as you chair the strategic priorities, because that would be nice for you to be able to have some information, because that would be that piece where you would navigate between the different levels of government based on some of the ideas. So it kind of comes out of the silos a little bit, and that's what these advisory committees, they all report to the plan, to our planning committee, but really they impact different levels of committees. So it's just growing and doing better with what their role is. So, okay, so we'll move those on. Donna, thank you for your work on that. I think everybody was in favor, and I see David's arrived, and we can go up to our first point, which was an update on the commitments made by the province as part of the major variance application approval related to 15 Park Street. Welcome, David. And Deputy Mayor, Chair of Planning is on the phone.
Well, I'll just start through the chair. I'm here to help answer any questions that members of the committee may have. Just to update members, if it already isn't known to folks that are in the chambers today, the city did grant an occupancy permit for the outreach center use at 15 Park Street back on March 22nd of 2024. So again, I'm here to just answer any questions on behalf of committee that they might have in respect of the conditions and the work that went on the site. So.
Perfect. One thing that I think needs to be clarified on the YouTube is the province is responsible for the cleanup of the area and the site with their public works as far as, and I know that they had said they were thinking still our staff was going out. I think our staff still is having to kind of come out and do some cleanup around the site area. So a little bit of a clarification around, what is the responsibility for whoever they've hired to be responsible for the cleanup? Is that like a once a day where they're coming around, or is it a regular thing? For me, I'd love to have that information, and then we'll move. Do you want me to open it up and get more, or do you want to?
I can respond to that, Madam Chair. Our understanding was that the province was hiring a private contractor to provide a daily sweep of the general area of influence to provide cleanup services. So it was supposed to be a daily service that was ongoing. Was our understanding. So
We might want to just follow up to make sure exactly what that looks like, and again, it comes back to the enforcement part, because we have to make sure if we say we're going to do it, that it will.
And,
Deputy Mayor, do you have anything to add in there?
Thank you, Chair. I wouldn't mind a little clarification on, I heard David use the term again, the area of influence. So does that mean that the sweep is happening within that 20-minute walking radius of the entire area? Because if that's the case, that's quite a big space.
Through the chair, Deputy Mayor, that's our understanding. I did want to note that we, planning staff, do have a meeting with members from the province tomorrow to discuss matters regarding fencing for the site, but we can certainly bring up the concerns that are raised here tonight at that meeting to seek clarification with the province. Our understanding is that, yes, the contractors were to operate in that area of influence, but I would imagine more immediate attention is directed more around the immediate adjacent blocks to the site more specifically, but not to say that they can't patrol further out and respond to requests further out which are still within that area of influence.
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
I just noticed down around the confluence of Kent Street, Kensington Road, and Fitzroy, where there's a lot of recent earth moved. Is that part of is that part of a fencing system? Is that where the fencing system is starting and going from? Is it going from that point all the way up to
No,
Beach Street?
no,
or
that's-
or is that
that's-
something
That's
totally
the
different?
fiber network guy that's down there with the mini Himax. So, no, I think that tomorrow's meeting will clarify some things that are going down there. Yeah. No, I've received calls about the same
So
little
it's a
Himax
totally
down.
separate, totally unrelated construction job? Okay.
I think there may be some construction work going on realigning the fences at Parks.
Yeah. Yeah, but the fiber network company is UCC. They were down there last week tearing down some of the fence. Yeah. To go underground with their fiber conduit. Anyways, that's another issue. I have some questions. So on March 6th, we had a meeting with the province. There was the deputy, myself, CAO, the Councillor Beck. I know Councillor McCabe couldn't make it because she was working, and there was members from the government, and we had a great meeting, and we're meeting again this Wednesday, or Thursday. And we do have minutes, Madam Chair, that we will be part of this package, because, again, we want to make sure everything is opened, transparent. We don't want to find out that, we're having clandestine meetings. That's not happening. Province is very open about this. They are trying to work very closely with us, and I think that there's an attempt to be very supportive on both sides, and I think and I'm glad, David, to hear that you're meeting with some of the provincial reps tomorrow to discuss some of the infrastructure issues that are connected to that facility, and I think the 7 acres that lie there in that old government garage property. So it's a path forward, and if you talk to some of the residents that live up near 242 Houston Street, it's a whole night and day situation. I think the facility where they're located now, the relocation, it is for 1 year. It's for 12 months, 365 days. So, let's see how it works and where it goes after that. But I think that the discussions we're having at the political level, and now you just informed us at the bureaucratic level, these are all positive collaborations and cooperative efforts to make, to try to find a balance, not just for the area of impact, but for the whole community, because this crisis, mental health, drug addiction, alcohol abuse, is prevalent all over, and communities all across the country are trying and looking at different ways of dealing with it. And I think where different levels of government can work together, I think that's a win-win for all of us. So glad to hear that you are meeting with them tomorrow, and hopefully we'll have a fruitful meeting on Thursday and continue on. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And it would be great to make sure we update people with the updates as these meetings happen so that they know where people are moving. I know there's still talk about where's the task force group, where's the different things, because again, when we've said that this was going to happen, we have to continually update them and educate
But,
them.
Madam Chair, when we say it's going to happen, let's just remember, this is not our property. This is not our level of responsibility. This level of government, the provincial government, has taken us in to say, look, let's try to work together, which I think that's a great way to collaborate and to find some synergies to work together.
Oh, 100%, but we still have to hold them accountable for what they said they were going to do, right?
And we did bring up those issues on March 6th, and they'll be repeated at Thursday's meeting. But again, the meetings are to be, as you said, David, we should have notes from those meetings so that they can be part of the package going to council, so everybody knows what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, do you have anything else to add?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. So, Your Worship, you wanted to put a notice for new business. There was a couple things that I was hoping we'd be able to add to our next committee meeting, but I'll try and remember what those were and share those with you, Deputy Mayor, prior. You'll be back, I'd say, by the next time, so.
Yes, so.
Do you have something that
Yes,
you'd like
I
to
do.
introduce for the
And,
next month?
I think Donna is familiar with the project. It's the development concept plan for Malpeque Road. Cassidy Group, they would like to come in and just present their concept to this committee. Again, it's only for information. It's not to, make the big sell and then we'll all walk.
There's a process for when they, yeah.
You can't, there's a planning application process.
Yeah. Could you just take the mic so it's on the public record?
Thank you. Through the chair, there's a planning process that they have to go through. This committee it's not within their mandate to be hearing about applications ahead of time. There's a planning board and a proper legislated process for that. So they would need to work with the planning department to figure out what that final application needs to be, and then they'll move it through the appropriate planning process, including the planning board and council, if council's included in that process.
Because we
But I know in the past, we've had development concept plans brought to this committee or brought to council as a whole, and just to give us to give us an idea what's going to be, what will be entailed, or what will evolve from this process, or what they're looking for. So again, I think they're not making an application. The Cassidy Group would like to make a presentation to show what they want to do in terms of a conceptual design on increase in density for the city of Charlottetown, which falls within the initiatives that that we laid out for half, that we have to increase density. So again, it's only a development concept plan that is trying to explain to elected officials, you know, if you're serious about dealing with the housing crisis, I got a solution.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Through the chair. So I appreciate that. I mean, this is not a discount of what they intend to do or their intentions toward solving the housing crisis for the city. The applications that, since I've arrived here, that have come in front of council have been through the province, talking about public applications in provincial development. Some has been partnership with the city. That's what's come before council. But this is different. This is a private development application. And to get it in front of council ahead of it going in front of your planning board circumvents the process.
Madam Chair, so allowing the process to work its way through, you're telling me that whether we accept or reject the development concept plan from this group, that it will come back to this committee or planning board? Like, it's not going to just stop at 70 Kent Street because it was turned down or it wasn't moved up to the next part of the food chain. Can I get
Thank
that
you. Through
answer?
the chair, any applicant has the ability to push their application through, but the planning department may say, your plan doesn't meet the requirements of the official plan or zoning bylaw, therefore it's unlikely you're going to receive a recommendation of approval from this department to the planning board, but you're welcome to take your application through in the end. But it just means that Planning and Heritage is going to put a recommendation to refuse it because it doesn't meet your planning documents. Now, if there was additional work or amendments or things like that that need to be
Variances.
made to make it work, that's something that they have to work with the planning department to do. That's not something they would start with council for initially.
So we've already issued some site-specific amendments in the current environment. So if this applicant is asking for a site-specific amendment, that is another avenue for him or his group to move it through the system. Because if we're waiting to change the official plan and then trickle down, and it'll be manifested through changes in the zoning development bylaw, we're looking at a year plus down the road, at least. Right? So does he have an option to ask for a site-specific amendment? Because I think he's been told that he'll have to wait until the official plan and the zoning development bylaws are amended to make application.
Anybody can ask for a
Thank you, through the
spike.
chair. Anybody can ask anything and push it through the system.
Yeah.
It's a question of the planning department's going to determine if it's good planning or not. So we did have a site-specific amendment that was made, and in that particular recent case, it was deemed that that was good planning to do so. Every application made is evaluated on the merit of that application, what's being asked in the local context of where that application is. But nonetheless, the process is that they have to work through Planning and Heritage. And like I said, anybody can push something through. It just means that they may not have a recommendation for approval in that process.
And
It might be a
council would still
recommendation
have
to
the final
refuse
say.
because it doesn't meet the planning documents, or it's deemed as not good planning.
Yeah, okay.
I'm glad we're having this discussion because Halifax, again.
Here, just wait.
Different municipality, larger municipality, about $500,000, there's about 500,000 residents in HRM. But they're already going through concept plans that are looking at higher density in the surrounding areas of their municipality. So we have an opportunity, and again, I want to make it clear that this application is not about 18,000 units. It's about 1,824 units that is being proposed. So we have to put that in context, that it's about density, increase in residential density for a growing population, and we need to address this because that's what HAF was saying to us. We've identified corridors. This is on the corridor, Malpeque Road. So I think it works, but I'd like to have an opportunity for, if not council, the community to see what's being proposed. And I thought this was a venue because we live stream all our meetings through the public. So, if this is the process, then, and we don't get a rejection of the site-specific amendment, you may see this project not come to fruition.
Can I ask, with the new official plan that we know is going to be underway as part of this new housing initiative money funding we've gotten, and I know part of that then will still have to be looking at the zoning and development bylaw. Is there a way to take what he's talking about, knowing that the vision is probably going to project with some of these things being included, to start looking at our zoning, and do we have to do the official plan, then do the zoning and development bylaw stuff? Or can we start to open up and break down that zoning development bylaw stuff at the same time? Is my question clear when I'm asking that?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we are some ways down the wicket with finishing the official plan. So we are about to go back to additional stakeholder consultation starting the end of this month. So we are pretty much almost done with that process. However, we are in the process of putting out a tender to start the zoning and development bylaw. And to answer your question, they can run together in terms of preparation, but it's just the way this has gone that would mean that one would need to be completed or almost done before the other starts.
Okay. Well, hopefully, Councillor Beck?
I think we're already down that road, that we're already, with the site-specific exemptions that we've been granting over the last little while, I think we're kind of playing, at least in my mind, we're making exemptions and creating variances for all kinds of projects. Hidden Valley, Porthouse. So we've gone down that way anyway. So I think we're already. And to his worship's point, a lot of what was identified in that preliminary plan was increasing density around traffic nodes, traffic corridors. And so I think this project would fall within that tentative plan that is being looked at least the preliminary plan, what's been outlined in the Uplands O2 report that we received back in March of last year. So I guess my question is, just kind of what Eleanor was saying there, that, and I agree, going through the process is the proper way to do it, follow the proper steps that have to be followed, but let's say we go down that road, because this is a big project. I mean, I've seen preliminary pictures of what it is, but the other part is, if it goes down through and it gets, planning department says we do not agree that this is a project worth pursuing, does that come back to us?
Yep, and we'll decide as
And
final
then
say.
that goes back through the whole process again of everything like that. So Cassidy Group will go through, they would have the opportunity to work with the planning department, get their professional opinion on whether this is a project that is worth pursuing, does it fit with our planning, where we are and that sort of thing. And then you guys will make a recommendation based on your professional opinion, and that would come through here. So it will eventually come, if they decide to pursue it, it will come through in a proper channel back to us,
It becomes,
regardless of whether it gets supported or does not get supported. Am I correct?
when we start going against our planning staff, or that's when my experience, and I'm going to let Eleanor talk, but that's when IRAC becomes more challenging. But anyway, go ahead, Eleanor, you can speak.
So there's two different processes here. One is where you're looking at amending your official plan and zoning bylaw that then enables an application to go forward. They're two different processes. So this committee has no mandate to consider any of the merit of that application. Instead, you would consider the merit of changing your official plan or zoning bylaw to enable that kind of use to go forward.
Exactly.
So to debate the merits of that application in here circumvents the planning process. And ultimately, in the end, as a member of council, you would consider it around the council table. But it's not the place for here.
Right.
Not at the start, but after having gone through the proper planning
If
process.
the applicant decided that they were going to put forth an application to amend the official plan or zoning bylaw, then
It
we
goes to
do-
planning board.
It goes to planning board, and
Not here.
for policy, does it end up coming through here, the official plan?
Comes through an application, so that would go through planning board, and then that would require it going to public consultation. It doesn't necessarily have to come through the committee.
Okay.
But our committee would start looking at what you're talking about, the zoning and development bylaw changes at this level versus planning board level, correct?
This committee would look at the proposals put forward in the official plan and the zoning and development bylaw to decide. Yeah.
To enable, but not the merits of the application.
Correct.
We have to be very, I know it sounds like I'm splitting hairs, but this planning process is so regimented that if you discuss it out of context, out of place, in the wrong committee, you put that application at risk of appeal
Correct.
for breaching and undermining that planning process.
Yeah.
So that's why, it sounds like I'm being a real stickler, but that is the legislative framework that we're working within.
That's why there is.
So what you're saying is that we're getting into the weeds. Like, that's what I was saying about the other issue that we dealt with earlier. When we get into the weeds, back off. So what I'm asking, an application is in for this project, correct? There's an application in for this project on Malpeck Road. Yay or nay?
To your worship, no, not that we're aware of.
So, there's no application in the
queue.
hopper, right? So, I wasn't trying to circumvent any process. If there was an application in the hopper, I would say, Philip, I'm limited, I can't do much. So, that's what I'm passing on to you. So, again, to clarify, no application in the hopper, but the applicant cannot come here and have a discussion or present a development concept plan. He may not even do the application, but
He can have a meeting at his business or somewhere and invite people to come.
I'm just trying to find, from what I was listening to, is that this is circumventing the application process. There's no application in yet. Correct?
But it would be, yeah,
Well-
you can't do that in the sense that if Mike Cassidy wants to show his plan, it would be great, have a meeting at his board office room and invite
Yeah.
people to come and look at it.
But
in
no,
his
I'm
own-
just trying to clarify,
Okay.
there's no application in the hopper.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's done.
We have
So what he
another
was trying to
minute.
say was just to come in here to speak to this committee. I know the process for a site-specific amendment. Yes, it has to go to planning board, then it goes to a public, if we allow it to go ahead. I understand that. I think the Casti Group was just looking at this as a venue because no application has been submitted. So, look, I don't know if that's clear or not clear, but I think I understand is that we just have to wait for his application to be processed. That's what we're saying.
Mike?
Doesn't mean it has to be in now. It's not in yet, but let's wait for the application. Correct?
There you go, YouTube. David, do you want to answer that?
Well, through the chair, I guess, and I'm kind of repeating what the CAO has already said in so many words. The terms of reference or the scope of the Planning and Heritage Committee is regarding policy. The scope of the Planning Board is regarding development applications, and those are related but separate pieces, right? They're not siloed to each other, but they operationally kind of are. I would say that this developer, they could, like you'd mentioned, Chair McCabe, they can take it upon themselves to host their own open house at a private or public venue, not unlike what Fathom Studios did for the Hillsborough concept plan last year. There's nothing stopping a developer from doing that. However, the Planning and Heritage Committee is not the forum for that because of your terms of reference and the scope of what this committee actually does. The scope of this committee is policy, looking at housekeeping amendments, new policies to be considered and adopted by the city. That really is where it stops, as far as I'm aware. So correct me if I'm wrong, CAO, but
Well, that's great, and it was good discussion, and it is 4:30, so I am going to have to adjourn
And let's
this
work outside the silos.
meeting
Yes,
so
I wanna
that we
work outside the silos.
can get ready for our planning board meeting, which is scheduled to start right now. So I need someone, Deputy Mayor's been on the line, so she'll pick us up, she'll pick this up at our next committee meeting next month. So I need someone to move motion to adjourn. Councillor Beck, seconded by His Worship. All in favor? Thank you very much. Back in 2 minutes.